talking about Ghost Rider, Clark, I know you're uber comics nerd going way back. As a fan, when you saw the finished product on screen, a show that you're involved in, did you get the geek goosebumps?
You know, it's not a word I grew up saying because I grew up on the East Coast, but I'm glad that I live in Los Angeles now because I'd never felt a more appropriate moment to say, oh, I was stoked.
I knew it. You knew it.
Stoked, that's the word.
It felt like the right, you know, maybe because we're in LA and driving around and there's muscle cars around, but you know, we were very nervous. We spent 3 seasons building a world that's pretty out there on its own with Hydra and aliens and, you know, Tentacle Head. He didn't like when I called him that. So, you know, Ghost Rider's a different ballgame. It's magic, it's the occult, it's, you know, a flaming skull. And even though every week we all marvel at what our visual effects post-production team, Chris Jeremy, Mark Kolpak, those guys, can do, you just don't know. And you do something, and maybe Gabe maybe is in a kind of weird glowing hat, and you're praying. You're just praying. There's a prayer that just goes, come on, Kolpak. And
it's a real prayer. It goes.
It is.
Oh yeah.
Dearest Kolpak.
You're sitting there going like this, and you're hoping later that doesn't look super stupid. And they always, you know, he saves it. He saves you, and I really, to see the fans respond to it, the fact that our brilliant writers, Jed Whedon and Jeff Bell, and all the great writers, chose the Robbie Reyes. I think Mr. Loeb had a say in this too. The Robbie Reyes, the East LA street kid version with a car. You know, some fans were like, "Wait, what do you mean, Johnny Blaze?" Ghost Rider.
Clearly, these fans are not seeing the Nicolas Cage movies.
I think the thing that was important was that look, at the end of the day, S.H.I.E.L.D. is really a story about a family, and this gentleman's responsibility is to making sure that this unusual cadre of folks who are extremely talented, both on the acting side but also as characters, somehow work together because they don't really have an outside life beyond. Once you sign up for S.H.I.E.L.D., that sort of everything else goes away. I mean, we explored that a little bit with looking at Coulson's background.
And you see what happens if you try to date anybody.
That's for sure. And so at the end of the day, one of the things that we really liked was that Gabe's character, you know, the Robbie Reyes character had a family, had a world, you know, being able to connect with his brother and where that goes and what that means to him and why he made the choices that he made, which will.
And I think that moment is so perfectly represented at the end of the first episode because you kind of see this you see this version of the Ghost Rider throughout the whole episode, and then right at the end where you're like, oh fuck this guy, you see him helping. It's called Blaster.
It's a 10 p.m. show. It's okay. You can curse now. You can curse now.
She didn't project.
No, I think it's.
You're right. The character did that. That
and
moment
then the end with
him
and his brother. It was really. It's so sweet. It's immediately heartbreaking, and you go, oh no, we're gonna like this guy, and we're gonna really.
Well, and a hero is you always care more about them if you know what they have to lose. You know?
But you're playing them very much like you don't want to be a hero.
And most, I mean.
He's in a very dark place when we meet him.
Yeah, well, I mean, taking lives is something not to be taken lightly. You know?
Don't do it
as he well knows.
Yeah. So,
but it's also what's always been cool about Marvel heroes is they're not just
right.
truth, justice. They've got there's a flip side to it. It all costs something.
Shot there.
And the writer going all the way back to '67 with Carter Slade. I mean, they're always these loners, these guys who
and women
are dealing with this and women
and women.
And 100, right? There's 5 of them. And all of them, you know, have this kind of pained existence. And Robbie's is interesting because he comes from a life he's orphaned and he's taking care of his brother since he's 13. He has problems already. So you know, becoming a Ghost Rider, while it's tough and it's a curse, you know, it's empowering. And he kind of just harnesses that.
The scripts, even with the involvement